Phoenix. Phoenix, it's time for Saturday night soccer and dollar beer night. Phoenix Rising takes on San Antonio under the lights Saturday, April 26th at 7 p.m. And you know what that means. Dollar beer night is back. Enjoy 16-ounce Modelo for just $1 as Rising battles a Western Conference rival. Tickets start at just $15. Get yours now at phxrisingfc.com. Cold beer, fierce rivalry. Don't miss it.
It's time to get excited for an unbeatable deal from Midway Chevy. Right now, Midway's Lease Advantage program has the all-new, redesigned 25 Chevy Trax. Lease it for $299 a month plus tax for 36 months with $999 due at signing. A giant value in a smaller SUV with Apple CarPlay and 11-inch display. Together, let's drive an exciting Trax. Lease for $299 a month, 36 months with $999 due at signing. Over 50 to choose from at Midway Chevy, I-17 and Bell Road, or shop anytime at MidwayChevy.com. Together, let's drive to Midway Chevrolet, absolutely unbeatable. Example VIN ends in SC216602, plus tax title license with approved credit. 25 cents mileage charge over 10,000 miles a year. No security deposit required. An extra charge may be imposed at the end of the lease term. See dealer for details. Ends 4/30/25.
We sell excitement.
Midway Chevrolet, absolutely unbeatable.
Hey, Mike Barrow from Barrow's Pizza here. The way we see it, family isn't just a cherished thing, it's everything. For us, that starts with our Grandma Angelina's family recipes brought over from Sarconi, Italy, like our sweet and tangy pizza sauce, 100% real mozzarella, and our fresh dough made every morning. And because every Barrow's is family-owned, never franchised, we personally make sure the quality's there at every location. So stop in and give Barrow's Pizza a try. It's authentic food from our family to yours.
Hear that? That's the sound of a loaded cash explosion. It happens every time someone wins loaded cash explosion scratchers from the Arizona lottery. Oh, it's happening again. Since tickets are loaded with $1,000 prizes with explosive top prizes of $2.5 million. Plus, a second chance to win $1 million in the Players Club. Head to an Arizona lottery retailer and play loaded cash explosion scratchers today.
If you know, you go. At Superstar Car Wash, we're proud to have over 550,000 members. Be in the know and try what everyone loves today. Text SuperAZ to 27800 to get 50% off our best wash. Terms and conditions apply.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe, Phoenix, and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale, Phoenix. It's the lunch break.
The Diamondbacks conclude their road trip. The Phoenix Suns enter the next phase of their offseason. And oh yeah, it's NFL Draft Week. Welcome into the Monday edition of the Lunch Break. Chris Schubert here with you on KDUS AM 1060, streaming on the KDUS AM 1060 app, and you can watch the show on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. We got producer Evan behind the glass, pushing all of the buttons, making everything possible. And I think I say this on most Mondays, but today it felt turned up to a different level today with how much stuff there is going on. So much for us to react to and a lot of baseball to get to. So that's where we'll start today's program.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
A road trip that started off as good as you could imagine. A 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins, and then a road trip that almost ended in absolute disaster, if not for yesterday's win in extra innings. The Diamondbacks will now return home to start a series tomorrow with the Tampa Bay Rays, and they will do so sporting a 4-2 record on this road trip. And I think the place to start, I like being optimistic at the beginning of the week. Usually I let the week kind of play out and we get negative as the week progresses. Usually I like to start with some positivity. We could very easily be talking about a team that got swept by the Chicago Cubs and a team that was 3-3 in this road trip, and you forget all about what they did to Miami, because the last thing in your head is this 3-game sweep at the hands of the Chicago Cubs. But that did not happen. They salvaged the last game yesterday. What a weird day yesterday was. The 2 separate delays due to weather. Merrill Kelly leaves the game with some cramping. Just all in all, not what you want to see, right? You're already fighting it. You play the game on Friday, and trust me, we're going to get into that here at some point. The bullpen and what at the time we thought was mismanagement, but now with some hindsight, it doesn't look like it was terrible mismanagement. Maybe you could have made a different decision with who you brought in, but with A.J. Puck not available and clearly Justin Martinez not available, it was kind of a shorthanded group for Torey Lovello on Friday in a game that producer Evan reminded me of this, and I did not remember this at the time. But when we left the building on Friday after the show, the game was ongoing. This was a low-scoring affair. This was a back-and-forth pitcher's duel.
I left the building. It was 2-1. I got home. There was 20 runs.
The final score 13-11 in that wild game on Friday. And so you have that with a bad taste in your mouth, the game that you gave away, right? You just didn't have your A relievers. You didn't have your high leverage guys. The bullpen arms that you did go to, they just didn't have it, right? They gave the game away after you responded and clawed back into the game. And so that was how the weekend set up. Saturday wasn't very good. Zach Allen was not efficient in that game on Saturday. And then yesterday, you're able to salvage one on Sunday to make sure that instead of this being a 3-3 road trip, it is a 4-2 road trip. And again, you can feel a little bit better about things because you got the last one in that series. I would take a 4-2 road trip any day of the week, any way you slice it. 4-2 when you go on the road. It's tough to win road baseball games, and the Diamondbacks did that. And I know Friday really bothered a lot of people. I know Zach Allen struggling on Saturday bothered a lot of people, and the bullpen is a problem. We'll talk about that here at some point on the program. The offense, it's just the 4 guys that we know, and everybody else is still waiting to contribute. This team is still has its fair share of problems and sore spots, and we saw those problems rear their ugly head. Things were rolling for this team. 5 in a row, 7 of 8, could do no wrong. Every decision, every button that was being pushed was working out for the Diamondbacks. And that included the start of this road trip. And it just felt like everything got turned upside down for this team over the weekend. And the thing that you look to more so than anything is the way the bullpen betrayed you on Friday. And it just set up for what that weekend was going to be. I mean, 3 new guys got brought onto the team over the weekend in the bullpen. This team just needed to find new arms to be able to use. You put a guy on the injured list, you sent 2 guys down because of the way they performed. I mean, other than your high leverage guys, you're looking for anything right now to spark the middle of that bullpen. And it is a talking point. It is something that we need to discuss because it was a problem on Friday. Bryce Jarvis was a problem on Friday. Joe Mantiply was a problem on Friday. Now, the team addressed it in very quick order by bringing in a group of arms from the minor leagues. They also put A.J. Puck on the injured list. And we're going to talk about the bullpen in general in hour number 2 of the program. But it's one of the big takeaways from this weekend, the way the bullpen pitched on Friday. But again, you salvaged it yesterday. You win in extra innings. And again, weirdness on Friday. Can't remember a baseball game like that with that many back and forth.
It felt like for 2 innings, any ball that got in the air got out.
Yeah, it just was a weird day on Friday. And yesterday was weird too with the 2 weather delays that probably didn't do Merrill Kelly any favors. He leaves the game with cramping. So another thing to just keep an eye on. And so I don't know. I understand. And Paul, I know you're out there. I know you're listening to the program. I know you're ready to dunk on me today because I heaped so much praise on this Diamondbacks team throughout the week last week. And you were very quick to point out that I maybe heap too much praise on this team. I mean, when a team wins 5 in a row and 7 of 8, I am going to heap praise on them. But yeah, this team, we'll call it like it is. They struggled over the weekend, and it could have been a complete disaster. I don't think I take this very melancholy tone if after sweeping the Marlins, you get swept against the Chicago Cubs, because you get swept. It's a 3-3 road trip. You gave away a game on Friday. The argument is you had your 3 best starting pitchers go in these 3 games of the series and you lose all 3. That's not supposed to be the case. That's supposed to be the strength of your team. You're supposed to win those starts. And so I could see our conversation taking on a much different tune but you did salvage it yesterday, and a 4-2 road trip just feels a lot different than a 3-3 road trip, sweep, and then get swept. Now the lasting memory that we have from this road trip is a win. So after taking care of business in Miami, you were able to salvage one against Chicago. And when you're on the road, just avoiding getting swept is going to be really, really important. And yeah, in the NL West, all of these games are going to matter. And for a team that missed the playoffs on a tiebreaker last year, you are already predisposed to watching every single game that doesn't go the Diamondbacks' way for whatever reason, because you're worried that that game in an absolutely stacked. I saw a statistic over the weekend, and this was at one point, I think it was late on Saturday, if not early Sunday morning, that 9 of the 15 teams in the National League had a positive run differential. Only 4 of the 15 teams in the American League had a positive run differential. You are seeing how competitive, how good the teams are in the National League, and the competition is going to be fierce all season long. And if you don't win the division, you're going to be battling it out with teams like the Cubs for those wild card spots. And so you look back on series like this, and if the team misses by a game, they miss by 2 games, you're going to look at Friday's game as an example of, man, if after coming back in that game, we would have just held on because we put Shelby Miller in the game instead of going to Bryce Jarvis and Joel Mantiply, perhaps we are in the playoffs. Instead, we're sitting at home. You would hate for that to be the case 2 years in a row, and for us to be able to play that game of, well, what if that result was different? What if that result was different? Now, I tend to believe all of these things even out over the course of the season. I did watch this Diamondbacks team erase a 4-run deficit in the bottom of the 9th the other day against Milwaukee. You probably should not have won that game with how poorly you were hitting for 8 innings of that one, but you came back, you scored 5 in the 9th, and you won. And so now the shoe was on the other foot last Friday, where you had a game that you clawed back into and then you gave it away. It should, in theory, all even out over the course of 162, but you would hate to look back at the end of the season and this team missed by a game or missed because of a tiebreaker, and you can easily in your memory go, man, remember that April game against the Cubs where we came back and we took the lead and then our bullpen just melted down? That one's going to be one that you think about at the end of the season if it does come back to haunt this team.
It's also hard not to reflect on it, especially just because, like you said, last year you missed it on a tiebreaker.
Right.
And that's why 2 weeks ago on the show, I told you I hate the word early, because that's a game that, like you said, you should have. They're now the 7th team since the year 1900. So over 125 years of baseball, they are the 7th team to lose a game while scoring 10 runs in an inning.
Yeah, you just had last year a scenario where you missed on a tiebreaker. You had the same record as everybody else in that wild card race. And so that's fresh in all of our minds. So in the, you hate the word, but I'll use it here, the early part of the season, those things, they stand out. And maybe they shouldn't. And maybe over time, if the Diamondbacks have a small cushion in the wild card race, or they're in this division race and it doesn't come down to 1 or 2 games, we will forget about Friday. But Friday is one of those games that if this is going to be as competitive as I think it's going to be, I think the National League is going to be competitive all year long. I don't think teams are just going to go quietly, right? I know we talked about the hot start for the Padres and the hot start for the Giants and wondering if those hot starts can last. Whether or not they last, those teams are going to make noise in August and September. They are going to be in the hunt. When they throw up a graphic on television of the playoff race, those teams are going to be right there in the mix. And so all of these games matter. All 162 add up to give you a record that's going to determine whether or not you're in the playoffs. And so games like this can really come back to haunt you. And I know a lot of people were getting on Torrey. I think the only mistake he made on Friday, we'll touch on this a little bit later on in the program, but I think the only mistake he made on Friday was not going to Shelby Miller in that spot. He did not have Justin Martinez. We clearly now know that he didn't have AJ Puck because they put him on the 15-day IL, but he had pitched 2 days in a row anyway, so there was no chance on April, 18th, 19th, you're going to a reliever 3 straight days. Same thing with Jalen Beeks. You did not have, if you could dream out a scenario, you're 1, 2, 3 relievers right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks. In some order, it's AJ Puck, Justin Martinez, and Jalen Beeks. You didn't have any of those guys on Friday. They were not available. Injury, no injury to AJ Puck. Those 3 guys, if they were completely healthy, just pitched the last 2 days. They were not throwing on that Friday day. So where the mistake went wrong for Torrey on Friday was not going to Shelby Miller in that spot in the 8th to try to lock it down and then try to piece it together there in the 9th. That is the mistake that I think happened on Friday. But you salvage one yesterday. Josh Naylor comes through with the big hit, and this team is able to come back home, and they're able to say a 4-2 road trip. Just has a different feel when you say that over, oh, yeah, it was a 3-3 road trip, and we're just coming off getting swept by the Chicago Cubs. It does feel a little different that you were able to grab that win yesterday and salvage just a little bit of hope from that series. And again, when you're on the road, your goal should always be just don't get swept. If you're able to take one, that should be good enough to keep you around and keep you in the mix. And so they were able to do that yesterday. But a lot of bad over the weekend. Starting pitching was, I thought Merrill Kelly was great yesterday before getting the cramp. I thought if he was able to continue to roll, but the bats continue to be a question mark after the top 4 guys, and the bullpen is a huge question mark as well. Want to hear from you on this. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. You can also join us over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel on our live stream. When we come back, I would like to offer what I think is some very important advice to the Phoenix Suns and what is about to be a very important offseason. I'll share that advice next. It's a lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Ready to tackle each morning with the best sports information coming at you?
I'm going to take a logical approach.
Get that weekday mornings on KDUS AM 1060 from 6 to 9 a.m. with the Dan Patrick Show. Dan Patrick, the Danettes, sports icons, sports legends, celebrities, poll questions. The Dan Patrick Show has it all.
It's a crapshoot.
Be sure to lock your dials to AM 1060 or 100.7 HD2 from 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings just got better.
This story is about us.
Breaking Benjamin.
Stay forever.
And 3 Days Grace. Live. October 8th at Desert Diamond Arena with special guest Return to Dust. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Don't miss Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace, presented by the Big Red Radio.
The savings are heating up at Scottsdale Mitsubishi, just off the 101 in Indian School. Right now, you can lease a brand new 2025 Mitsubishi Outlander for $0 down, 0 security deposit, and 0 first month payment and 0 due at signing.
Come see us at the Scottsdale Auto Show or go to ScottsdaleMitsubishi.com to check out our current selection of inventory not affected by future tariff changes.
The name to remember, Scottsdale Mitsubishi. Scottsdale Mitsubishi, another Mark Auto Group dealership.
If you're tired of struggling to lose weight, Red Mountain Weight Loss has the solution. Discover the power of semaglutide and tirzepatide, the breakthrough GLP-1 medications that are transforming lives. You lose up to 15 pounds a month without feeling hungry or deprived. That's huge because it makes it easier for you to lose weight. And that's what we do at Red Mountain. Our doctors specialize in medical weight loss. We've helped people lose weight for over 30 years now, and we can help you too with quality GLP medications that cost less than half the price of Ozempic. Visit us in person, online, or skip the doctor visits altogether, and we'll ship the medication direct to your door. For a limited time, you can save $100 on any GLP-1 program and get our lowest prices of the year. Find your weight loss solution and lose up to 15 pounds by this time next month at Red Mountain Weight Loss. Go to redmountainweightloss.com. That's redmountainweightloss.com.
Jim Rome here with your Rome Report. Aaron Rodgers has finally spoken, telling Pat McAfee he is, quote, open to anything and attached to nothing, end of quote, and that retirement is still on the table. Oh, and that the Jets did him dirty by having him fly himself to New York to quickly fire him to his face when they could have just lobbed him a telephone call. And that he's dealing with some personal issues and he's just not ready to make a decision yet. Look, I get it. I've got no problem with that. Life, it comes at you fast, but so does the NFL draft. In less than a week, in fact. So if I'm the Steelers, I'm drafting a quarterback. Listen, if Aaron had committed to the Steelers, I could argue that you don't draft a quarterback. See Kirk Cousins in the ATL. But Aaron's not committing, and that's fine. But the Steelers not coming away with a quarterback next week isn't. Not telling you what to do with your pick, Omar Khan, but take a quarterback. I'm Jim Rome. The basketball playoffs are here on Prize Picks, the best place to cash in on the action. The app is so simple to use. Just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code ROAM. Get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. That's code ROAM on Prize Picks to get $50 in bonus promo funds instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get the $50 bonus credit just for playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. You don't have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
O'Reilly. Check engine, ABS, or maintenance light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. The service is free and provides a report with solutions verified by ASE certified master technicians. And if you need help, we could recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hey listeners, Vince DeLisio here. This week is JUCO Sports Week. Saturday morning we are live from Phoenix College's Hoy Stadium where the Hohokam Junior College Athletic Conference is hosting fall tryouts. We kick off our broadcast at 8 a.m. on Live 365, then move to AM 1060 at 9. You'll hear from football coaches from the Mustangs, Scorpions, Sidewinders, Pumas, and Hawks. It's the Varsity Sports Show, Saturday morning at 8 on Live 365, then from 9 to 11 a.m. on AM 1060, KDUS, Arizona.
I want to offer some advice to the Phoenix Suns for this offseason. Not to say that they will take said advice, but we know that there's about to be a lot of change for the Phoenix Suns as an organization. We know already that there will be a new coach. At some point this week, all signs are pointing to us learning what is going to happen, if anything is going to happen. Now, the expectation is that there's going to be changes in the front office. Those could come down as early as this week. We know that in theory, Kevin Durant could be on the move, and this roster is going to look a lot different. It's going to have a new identity. It's going to be a different group. And I want to offer some advice up to the Phoenix Suns for this offseason because they're undertaking a very large project. How large of a project? Chris Haynes over the weekend did his Haynes Brief YouTube show, and he focused a lot on the Phoenix Suns. Now, I want to bring some of this sound to you throughout the course of the day. I think it's telling. I think it paints a really nice picture of what this offseason is going to look like. And here's just one cut of Chris Haynes talking about what the Suns are going to try to accomplish this offseason.
One thing that I do know, one thing that I was told is that the Suns want to transition. They want to move away from the model that they've been going after for the previous 2 years of accumulating star talent, star players, and then trying to see if it can mesh on the court. They want to move away from that, and they are going to move away from that. So the purpose right now and the goal moving into next season is to accumulate defensive-minded, tough players. They want to play a defensive-minded, grind-it-out type of a game. They want to have a product on a court that fans can appreciate because you go into, I read the comments. I see what Suns fans are saying about their teams after games, and, you can make the case that this team probably quit on Budenholzer early on in the season.
So that's what they're going to try to accomplish. Talked about identity last week, grit, determination. You heard some of it there from Chris Haynes of the work that they are going to try to do, what they are going to try to accomplish. Okay. Now the real work starts. And the real work is in who you get as your next head coach. The real work is in what you get back for Kevin Durant. The real work is what changes you make to the front office. The real work is seeing the players you go out and covet in free agency, the players that you go out and covet in the draft that fit this identity. The proof is going to be in the pudding here. The proof is going to be in the actions. And so that's where I want to offer some advice up to the Phoenix Suns, because I was thinking about this over the weekend, And there's a quote that I have always thought of in life that I've applied to me personally. And it's not attributed to anybody in particular. But the quote is, work hard in silence, let your success be the noise, end quote. Why is that the quote and the advice that I want to offer to the Phoenix Suns? We don't want to hear from you anymore. We don't want to hear about all of the things that you're going to do. Because they're just words. And they're just empty promises until you deliver on the promises. You promised that this group was going to win a championship. You promised that 26 of the 29 other teams in the NBA would trade places with the Phoenix Suns at the end of last year. We don't want to hear about what you're going to do. We don't want to hear about your plan. We don't want to hear about what went wrong anymore. We don't want to hear about how things can be different. We want to see things be different. And it's hard. It is hard to work hard in silence, like the quote says. It is hard to not respond to every little thing that is going to be thrown the Phoenix Suns' way this season. If you think, and this is the only time I'm going to address this here on the program, if you think that what Stephen A. Smith said about Matt Ishbia and the Phoenix Suns is the last time people are going to talk about the Phoenix Suns this offseason, good, bad, indifferent, you're wrong. It's just the beginning. It is the tip of the iceberg. They are going to be a conversation when teams get eliminated from the postseason. They are going to be a conversation once they hire a new head coach. They are going to be a conversation after that coach has his introductory press conference. If they make any moves in the front office, there'll be a conversation this week. And it is tough for this to be the thing you stand on, but you can't react to any of it.
I really don't know if there's another team that has a more interesting offseason, given how the playoffs might shake out. But I don't know if there's a team that will have a more covered, more interesting postseason than the Phoenix Suns.
And if you are anybody in charge over there, if you're Matt Ishbia, if you're Josh Bartelstein, if you're James Jones, if you're whoever else is brought into that front office, if you're the next head coach, whatever the case may be, you have to block out all of the nonsense. And you need to keep your head down and you need to work in silence. And then when it all comes together, when it's all working a year, 2 years down the road, you don't need to say anything. You just point to the basketball floor and you allow the hard work that you have done this summer to speak for itself. And that's hard to do. It is hard to be quiet and not respond to what Stephen A. Smith said. And Matt Ishbia, I think, handled it about as well as he could have by responding, but not really responding. You don't want to get into this back and forth when your team has been this much of a disappointment, this much of a failure. You got to take your lumps. You have to take the L. You have to accept the criticism that's going to come your way because, by the way, it's warranted. And you just need to keep your head down and do good, solid work. Because honestly, nothing good is going to come out of the Phoenix Suns responding to everything. Nothing good is going to come out of Matt Ishbia responding to every criticism that gets levied towards him. Instead, that's only going to make the problem worse. All this team should be focusing on is being better than they were last year, taking those steps in the right direction of being a better organization, top down, being a better organization in player acquisition, being a better organization in the way they identify players, having that identity be seen in who they bring in who they bring in as a coach, who they bring in as players in the draft, who they go out and get in free agency, what they try to prioritize in a Kevin Durant trade. That is where you can speak. You can speak through your actions instead of speaking through your words. Because let's face it, we're kind of tired of hearing from you. You are going to be called all sorts of names. You're going to improperly be called one of the worst owners in NBA history. That's going to happen. You're going to have somebody in the media make a dumb comment like that. You need to keep your head down, be above the fray, and work hard. Because the only thing that's going to come from responding to all of that, the only thing that's going to come from litigating this in the public square, in the back and forth with comments and leaks to reporters and all this stuff, is more criticism for you. Be quiet. Take all the hits. Take all the arrows that are going to get thrown your way. slide into the background, work hard, find the right head coach, come up with what that identity is. Find those players and coach that fit that identity and just roll out the team. And don't say we're going to win championships and don't put expectations on next season. Just let the process play out. And again, easier said than done. It is easier to say what I just said and give that advice to the Phoenix Suns than to actually follow through that advice. But it is the wise decision for the Suns to stay above the fray here, to not get involved with any of this. Because, one, nobody's going to believe you anything you say at this point anyway. They want to see it. Right? Matt Ishbia went up there, and what did we say? Wow, said all the right things, was a solid press conference from that regard, but we got to see it. I got to see it. I was supposed to see it last year. I was supposed to see it the year before that. I was supposed to be watching a team that was playing over the weekend in the NBA playoffs. That's what we all signed up for. That's what this was supposed to lead to. It didn't. So sorry if I have a bit of a trust issue with you, Matt Ishbia. Sorry if I have trust issues with you, the Phoenix Suns. And you know what doesn't fix that trust? You know what doesn't rebuild that relationship that you and I should have? Because I'll be honest, I didn't grow up here. I'm not from here. I've lived here for over a decade. If there is one franchise that I have embraced and I've left behind my roots of where I was, it is basketball. I didn't grow up in a Knicks household. I didn't grow up watching the New York Knicks. Basketball was not one of my favorite sports. I have grown since the 10 years of being here to really enjoy watching Devin Booker play and for embracing this team because it is the longest standing franchise here in this state, and I understand its importance, and I dove headfirst all in. Let's go. So I've got trust issues with this franchise. They are supposed to be my bridge into the game of basketball. That's what the last 10 years was supposed to be. Hasn't really been that other than one finals appearance. And so you've got to show it to me. You can't just tell me because you've told me a lot of things over the last 2.5 years. None of them have come through. None of them have come to fruition. Work hard in silence. Let your success be the noise. That is what I want the Phoenix Suns to. We talk about identity. I want that to be a part of their identity this summer. Coming up on the other side of the break, choices. That is what the Cardinals are going to have on draft night. How do they plan to deal with them? That's next. The lunch break, KDUS, AM 1060.
The Varsity Sports Show live with Vince D'Alicio every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Features all the local youth, high school, college sports, and more, both around the Valley and beyond. Enjoy go-to segments with coaches and players from around the Valley. Tune in to the Varsity Sports Show with Vince and guests Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. right here on KDUS AM 1060. Online at KDUS1060.com and the KDUS 1060 app.
Pierce the Veil. I Can't Hear You World Tour 2025. Pierce the Veil, live in concert in Phoenix with Sleeping with Sirens and Beach Weather, live at Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, June 15th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
When my wife and I got married after both graduating law school, we didn't have two nickels to rub together. Ultima had to give me her gas card just to drive home. We never could have imagined that one day we would have the largest injury firm in the world and $25 billion in money collected and counting. As good Catholics, we had 4 children fast. They all work in the firm today. Our family protecting yours. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. But our greatest gift was years away, grandchildren. Today we have 6 and counting. It's the greatest joy that we have ever experienced. I think about them all day long. Our family promises to protect your family should you need us. Call us. It's easy. Visit forthepeople.com and make sure you hug your grandchildren. God's final gift to us. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you. Hey, it's Pat. The other day at work, they brought in pizza for lunch. So I swooped in and I grabbed 3 slices. The coworker next to me said, geez, Pat, you can't have it all. Then I corrected him and said, yeah, I can. And you can too. With a new 2025 Toyota truck. Power and performance, capability and reliability. Well, I must have convinced him because he grabbed the plate out of my hand and he said, good point, Pat.
Right now, get 1.99% financing for 72 months on a new 2025 Tundra SR or SR5. Or get competitive financing or a great lease deal on a new Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma. Plus, check out the all-new 6th generation 4Runner, arriving daily at your Valley Toyota dealers. Shop anytime at valleytoyotadealers.com. Toyota, let's go places. 1.99% with $14.75 per thousand borrowed for 72 months. 0 down payment if you qualify. Offers end 4/30/25. See dealer for details.
Take advantage of thousands of dollars in SRP rebates and discounts on energy-efficient home upgrades like new air conditioning units, windows, ducts, and insulation. Save money on your energy bill while also making your home more comfortable. SRP's network of participating contractors can guide you from start to finish and maximize your savings by combining Inflation Reduction Act incentives with SRP rebates. Learn more at savewithsrp.com.
Ready to tackle each morning with the best sports information coming at you?
I'm going to take a logical approach.
Get that weekday mornings on KTUS AM 1060 from 6 to 9 a.m. with the Dan Patrick Show. Dan Patrick, the Danettes, sports icons, sports legends, celebrities, poll questions. The Dan Patrick Show has it all.
It's a crapshoot.
Be sure to lock your dials to AM 1060 or 100.7 HD2 from 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings just got better.
This story is about us.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, it's NFL draft week. I mean, Thursday's going to roll around and we're going to hear the chimes. There's going to be picks. I mean, this is like the gear up to Christmas for us here on the program.
This is arguably the most exciting week of the year in the NFL.
You walked into my office today. The first words out of your mouth. I hadn't talked to you over the weekend. I hadn't said anything to you this morning. The first words out of your mouth when you walked into my office for the morning meeting, happy draft week. First words, not good morning, not what do we got? First words out of producer Evan's mouth this morning, happy draft week. So you can tell where we're at here. I had a buddy share with me who's in the draft media space. He shared with me over the weekend his final big board. He sent it to me and I was looking at it. I'm like, I'm ready to go. Like, I am ready to go for Thursday. I'm ready to start to see the puzzle pieces get put together on draft night. And as a word of caution for everybody here, don't believe anything you read this week. Just don't. This team likes this guy all of a sudden out of nowhere. Just go into this with a very healthy amount of skepticism that if you hear something this week that you're hearing for the first time, it very well could be true, right? It was a couple of years ago where all of a sudden out of nowhere, Baker Mayfield was going to be the number 1 pick, right? It does happen where something that you don't hear throughout the whole process just pops up in the last week. But more often than not, those things end up not being true, and they're part of the smoke screen game that is being played. So just have a healthy dose of skepticism this week.
There is always the late climber, though. Always.
Well, it certainly appears as if it's.
No, I feel like we already have our candidates.
It's one of the quarterbacks. It's Jackson Dart. It's Jalen Milroe. It certainly feels like it's one of those two guys.
Milroe's going in the first round.
Yeah, you've been on this for a couple of weeks now that Milroe's going in the first round. But we will keep an eye on all of it. And I read a great story this morning on azcentral.com by Bob McManaman over the Arizona Republic. He wrote a column, 6 ways the Arizona Cardinals could go with the 16th pick. And he just picked a player at every position that we've been talking about. He picked a edge rusher. He picked Mykel Williams. For offensive tackle, he picked Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. For defensive tackle, he picked Walter Nolan. For offensive guard, he picked Tyler Booker, somebody who we've seen mocked to the Cardinals a lot of the times in the second round of 2-round mocks, but somebody who has been named as a member of the Arizona Cardinals in these mock drafts. Corner, Will Johnson, and wide receiver, by the way, shout out to Bob, because Bob didn't fall for the trap. Bob didn't pick T-Mac. Bob went right for our guy, Matthew Golden, is his wide receiver pick. So those 6 names. I ask you, any of those 6 names, would you be upset if the Cardinals drafted any of those 6 guys? Would you be upset if Matthew Golden was the pick? Would you be upset if Will Johnson was the pick? What about Tyler Booker, Walter Nolan, Kelvin Banks Jr., Mykel Williams? All positions of need: edge, offensive tackle, interior offensive line, defensive line, corner, wide receiver. All of the positions that we have been kicking around here for the last 2 months about what the Cardinals might do on draft night. Every single one of those players, I think, would be a great fit for this team and would make sense. And by the way, all of those guys could be there at 16. Not all of those guys would require a move up. Not all of those guys would be a part of a trade back. They could just stay at 16 and pick those guys. And I'm here to tell you, any one of those guys on that list, I'd have zero problem with.
I think that Booker would be a trade back.
Of the 6 names,
I wouldn't love him at 16.
I have seen his name linked to the Cardinals, like I said, more when you see 2-round mock drafts, and he is their pick in the 2nd round. And Bob does mention that if he slips out of the 1st round, that he would move up early to get him in day 2, but says that if Arizona really wants him, the team could probably trade down, gain an additional pick, and still grab him. But you just never know. If somebody loves Tyler Booker, they're just going to take him.
If you love your guy, if he's high on your big board, I always think, stick to your gut. Don't let the board dictate what you do. You have your guys, you have your big board, you have your list, stick to it.
Here's where that principle I think is really true, is if you have a guy on your board that you love, and you know that you think you can trade down 4 or 5 spots and still get that guy, and you work the phones, and you work the phones, and you work the phones, but you can't get a deal you like. None of the deals are matching the value that you're looking for. But you're going to stay and make the pick. You don't want to forfeit the selection. So you may, quote unquote, reach, but you're still going to pick your guy, but you're going to exhaust every other option to maybe maximize that pick to move down a couple of spots, still get the guy you want and get additional value. That's the way the draft game works. But yes, if you love your guy and you exhaust every other option and the only thing you can do is stay in that spot and make a selection, you take your guy. Especially if you think that that guy's not going to be there when you pick next. You take that guy. If you have convictions on somebody, you have to be unwavering in those convictions.
And if somebody falls who you haven't done too much work on and you love the value there, it's risky if you haven't done a lot of work on somebody like, let's say a Will Johnson falls. I think they've done their work on Will Johnson. But let's say a Will Johnson gets to 16. They haven't done much work, but Booker's their guy and they can't trade back. Then it gets interesting of just stick to your plan. Take Booker, continue to let Will Johnson fall. And that's what we've seen. That's why we see some of these guys fall way farther than ever expected.
It's why Bo Callahan falls in the movie draft day. Bo Callahan falls in the movie draft day because everybody's scrambling. They don't know why Bo Callahan is falling, but they just stay true to their boards. Okay? I'm going to reference draft day once a day, every day until the NFL draft. All week this week, you're getting draft day references. Bo Callahan falls in that movie because everybody else doesn't know what to do. They expect Bo to go 1-1. He doesn't. It throws the entire draft off. But everybody just stays true to their board, and they just take the guys that are on their board because they're flustered. They don't know what to do. And so their default position, their North Star is, we got to trust our board. Got to trust our board. We got to trust our board. And they just go with who's on their board. That's what allows Sonny to make all of the moves that he makes to get his picks back from Seattle.
You have to wonder, did his Colorado teammates show up to Shador's birthday party? That's going to be the question on draft night this year.
That's an excellent question. And did anybody have any playbook shenanigans like they have in the movie? See, I'm using all of the material here on Monday. I've got 3 more days of these references. Excellent movie.
Save some.
We used a bunch. I've got a couple in the back pocket. Okay. But yes, it's one of my favorite movies, and it's about the NFL draft. So we're going to reference it a bunch this week here on the program. And this is, I wanted to point out Bob's story because any of those 6 names, you can maybe agree or disagree about taking Tyler Booker in the 1st round, but any of those 6 names would be great for the Cardinals to end up with. Choices. This is what happens when you have a well-run organization that has done the work to reshape this roster and get this roster in a place where, hear me when I say this team still needs work. This team is not a complete playoff contender, Super Bowl contender, right? This team still needs work. But they are in a much better spot than they were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the cupboards were bare. 2 years ago, you just needed quality talent in the building because you needed quality talent anywhere. But now, over 2 full off seasons, a couple of drafts, getting some blue chip prospects in there, landing guys like Josh Sweat, making the free agent acquisitions that this team has made, utilizing the 21 picks that they've had over the last couple of years to get, at worst, a bunch of starters for their team. You're now in a position where I'm not saying you need to be picky, but you have choices. You have options. You're not locked into needing to get X or needing to get Y. You don't need to take a wide receiver in the first round like we thought you did last year. You don't need to take an edge rusher like we thought you did last year, like we thought you were going to have to do at the beginning of this offseason before you landed Josh Sweat. You have choices. Those choices are a good thing. Those choices provide you flexibility. It is my favorite word in sports when it comes to talking about front offices. If you have flexibility, it puts you ahead of everybody else. You're ahead of the curve. You have more options. You have more cards to play. Your chips are not all the way in the middle yet. They might be at some point, and they might be at some point in the near future. But right now, Monty's still got a lot of chips in front of him. Still has a lot of cards left to play. And we'll see what cards they choose to play on Thursday night, night 1 of the NFL draft. When we come back, your phone call is always welcome, 480-864-1060. We've also got you on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel. 3 new faces, 1 guy placed on the injured list, a full bullpen makeover for the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's next in the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Hey listeners, Vince Delisio here. This week is JUCO Sports Week. Saturday morning, we are live from Phoenix College's Hoy Stadium, where the Hohokam Junior College Athletic Conference is hosting fall tryouts. We kick off our broadcast at 8 a.m. on Live 365, then move to AM 1060 at 9. You'll hear from football coaches from the Mustangs, Scorpions, Sidewinders, Pumas, and Hawks. It's the Varsity Sports Show, Saturday morning at 8 on Live 365, then from 9 to 11 a.m. on AM 1060, KDUS, Arizona.
Total Wireless is made to totally keep up with you. We have unlimited data that never slows you down, covered by the Verizon 5G network, and all for less than $30 a month when you get 4 lines. And the best part, we give you a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G when you switch to the 5G Unlimited or 5G Plus Unlimited plan. Visit your local Total Wireless store today. Total Wireless, we're totally with you. Actual speeds may vary by location. For data management practices, see TotalWireless.com.
Get your to-do list ready. The Home Depot just opened a new store in Surprise. So whether you're making simple upgrades or full-on renovations, the Home Depot has you covered with great prices on tools, materials, rentals, and more. Plus, order online or with the Home Depot app and get it all delivered to your door fast and free. Visit us at 16601 Cactus Road in Surprise and start your next project today with the Home Depot.
Looking to sell your home? Hi, I'm Andrew the Home Buyer, and I love making it easy to sell your house. I'll personally come and give you a cash offer the same day we meet, and I'll beat any other offer. It really is that easy to sell your home, and no need to clean or fix anything. I'll buy it in as-is condition. Call me, Andrew the Home Buyer, today to get your same-day cash offer. Visit AndrewTheHomebuyer.com.
As the old saying goes, size matters.
At Morgan & Morgan, we have over 1,000 lawyers and nearly 6,000 people on staff.
But at the core, this is and always has been a family business.
Our family watching out for your family.
Call us or email us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even on a Saturday or a Sunday.
And if you ever have a problem, call our mom.
Morgan & Morgan.
For the people and your family.
Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Join ASU Baseball for an in-state matchup here on KDUS AM 1060. This Tuesday, join the Sun Devils as they get ready to square off against Grand Canyon University. As the season continues, Coach Lee Bloomquist knows his team has what it takes to bring home more wins. Tim Healy will have the call live. It's ASU versus the Lopes of GCU this Tuesday evening. Pregame at 6:45 p.m. and first pitch at 7 right here on KDUS AM 1060 and online at KDUS1060.com/Sun Devils.
It was a up and down road trip for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ended with them going 4-2 after salvaging a win yesterday. But everybody wants to talk about the bullpen and the meltdown that occurred on Friday and all of the moves that were made on Friday. And there is one thing that really is standing out to me coming out of this weekend. And Producer Evan, where do we start with this? Do we talk about Friday? It feels like forever ago that Friday happened, but it does feel important because it feels like this is where the snowball started to go downhill for the Diamondbacks when it came to their bullpen because everybody had their pitchforks out. Everybody was ready to go on Friday to just absolutely destroy Torey Lovullo for his bullpen mismanagement in Friday's game. And we didn't get a chance to touch on it on Friday. And I was tweeting about it. And if you're interested in those types of things, at Chris Schubert _ on social media, on X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days, I was sharing my thoughts in real time because there were some people that were ready to go after Torey and ready to fire Torey. And listen, you didn't have, this is how we're going to do this. I want to go back to Friday and I want us to pretend we know none of the information that we know here today on Monday. Okay, I want to put us back in the spot we were on Friday when we're watching this game and we're watching it start to fall apart for this team. You knew on Friday, if you're a smart baseball fan, and maybe this is some of you telling on yourselves, but if you're a smart baseball fan, you had to know we don't have Justin Martinez today. He's thrown each of the last 2 days. We don't have A.J. Puck. He's thrown each of the last 2 days. We don't have Jalen Beeks. He's thrown each of the last 2 days. It is April 19th, right? Was it Friday? Friday was April 18th?
Friday was the 18th, correct.
So Friday, April 18th. We're less than 25 games into the season. You know what we're not doing? I'm not using my 3 highest leverage relievers 3 straight days. Now, if you want to talk about the way the bullpen was used in the Miami series and how Martinez and Puck got into a game that the Diamondbacks had in hand. If you remember at the time that those guys were brought up, it was a 3-run game. So it's a little different. You're getting these guys up because it's a save opportunity. It's a close game. And then you poured on the runs. And the way baseball works is normally if you get a guy up, not just up and stretching, but if a guy is up and he's warming up, he's throwing, he is looking at the scouting reports and he's getting loose, you very rarely want to then sit that guy down. Now, this is why you'll see sometimes in a game, let's say a team has a 5-run lead, a 6-run lead in the 9th inning, and they don't have their closer in the game. Their closer's sitting there out in the bullpen, and the first couple of guys get on. You'll then see that camera shot of the reliever still has his jacket on, but he's just milling about. He's just walking around. That's him kind of starting to get ready. I can still not go to that person. But if he starts to throw and he starts to get loose and he's doing so in an expedited fashion and he's throwing really hard, you at that point want to use that guy because it can throw off their routine. Pitchers are creatures of habit. So again, we can debate whether or not you should have used them, but you did. You used them the last 2 days prior. You don't have Justin Martinez. You don't have A.J. Puck. You do not have Jalen Beeks. It's not, we're not negotiating this. Those 3 guys are not available to you. So you have to use, we'll call it the B squad. You have to use your second-tier high-leverage relievers. You have to use the best of the rest. Now, here's where I will give everybody a bone. I'll throw everybody a bone here today. If there's a mistake that Torey Lovullo made, it was after grabbing that lead and then it's starting to slide off the rails there in the 8th, not trying to grab that game like it was a playoff game and using Shelby Miller, your closer, because Shelby apparently was going to be used in the 9th. that you used Shelby there in the 8th, kept the lead where it was, and then utilized the best of the rest. But nobody had it on Friday. Nobody. So I wonder that if you used Shelby Miller when you did, if we weren't going to talk about a 9th inning collapse from this team instead of an 8th inning collapse from this team. Guys didn't have it. 2 of the guys that were using that game got sent down, gone. 3 new guys are here. You overhauled your bullpen over the weekend. Jameson's back with this club. Still waiting for Kevin Ginkel to return. Now, I will tell you, there's something that really concerns me out of this weekend and has nothing to do with Friday. Troy Lavello yesterday said that Justin Martinez was unavailable on Sunday. That he's not injured, but he's fatigued. Justin Martinez last pitched on Thursday. Now, Friday, we said we take it off the table, right? Was not pitching on Friday, no problem there. Saturday, a game that you're losing, you already put A.J. Puck on the 15-day IL, so that's your closer. You probably want to stay away from him. Okay, he got Friday and Saturday off. We're playing a close game yesterday in a gotta-have-it game to make sure we don't get swept, and Justin Martinez isn't available because he's fatigued, and we think he's going to be available on Tuesday when you are back at it against the Rays? That's concerning to me. That is something I want to keep a very close eye on because you're already down A.J. Puck. We're still waiting for Kevin Ginkel to return. And now potentially the other guy who's been brilliant to start the season, Justin Martinez, has been brilliant for this team. I think by the time we get to the end of the season, he's going to be the closer, no questions asked. But he was unavailable yesterday because he's fatigued and he's not injured. What does that mean? He's fatigued. He hasn't been used a ton so far in the early going. He hasn't been overworked. He didn't use him on Friday. Didn't really have a chance to use him on Saturday. Using conventional bullpen math, he should have been good to go for Sunday. So extremely concerned that Justin Martinez is unavailable yesterday. With A.J. Puck already sidelined, and you've got 3 new faces down there for a group that needs to find stability, and they need to find it in a hurry.
And it's not like they did any testing or imaging or anything for Justin Martinez. It was just fatigue.
Unavailable.
And with all of this going and this, which is concerning in and of itself, do you make an early trade? Do you make a May, June move to add bullpen depth at least? Doesn't need to be a big name, but you need depth.
You do need depth, and you need stability down there. Here's what I would say. Let's see if A.J. Puck can come back when that 15-day IL stint is done. Let's see how close Kevin Ginkel is to a return. Where's Kendall Graveman at, right? Does Justin Martinez need an IL stint? These are things that I really want to pay attention to. Because if you tell me that in 15 days, A.J. Puck's going to come back, Kevin Ginkel during that time frame is also going to be right around the corner, Kendall Graveman is then going to be an option. Now, all of a sudden,
you feel way better.
You feel a lot better. And so that's why it's April. You don't overreact too strongly to these things. But elbow inflammation, and they're sitting A.J. Puck down. Who knows if he's going to be back in 15 days? Is Kevin Ginkel going to return sometime soon? If you get both of those guys back, and Justin Martinez, this is really, truly just a fatigue thing, and we can move on, and it is just a blip on the radar, and things are okay, and he's back to being his dominant self, then no harm, no foul. You don't need to make any early moves. But if A.J. Puck's going to miss more than 15 games, if Kevin Ginkel is going to miss some time or more time than he already has missed, if Justin Martinez, this fatigue does turn into an IL stint, now all of a sudden you got problems. You've got major problems because the strength of this bullpen was Ginkel, Puck, Martinez shutting it down. One of those guys just got placed on the injured list. The other guy has been on the injured list. And the third guy of that group hasn't pitched since Thursday because he's fatigued. So the strength of the bullpen, the guys that are supposed to have it locked down 7, 8, 9, big question marks around all 3 of them. One guy we haven't seen pitch at all this season. One guy just landed on the IL. And another guy who couldn't throw yesterday because he's fatigued. Not injured, but fatigued. And that scares me because right now it can be just fatigue. And then all of a sudden in a couple days it becomes an injury. this group needs to find stability. We know offensively they're basically 4 guys right now. Pitching-wise, I thought Merrill Kelly was great yesterday. Other than that, a weekend of a mixed bag for the starting pitching of this team. But it's been good. It had a really great stretch of 7, 8 starts in a row where they were really, really good. They need to find some stability. Hey, if you're listening on the app, you can listen for your chance to win 4 tickets to the Diamondbacks against the Braves on Saturday, April 26th at Chase Field. Get to the game early to get a Diamondbacks replica jersey courtesy of Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. The first 25,000 fans at the game will get one. You can get your tickets at dbacks.com/SGT. When we come back, is there a world where Kevin Durant stays with the Phoenix Suns? That's next to lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Do you know when you realize you made a horrible mistake and got stuck with the wrong injury lawyer? When it's too late. Hi, I'm Mark Breyer.
And I'm Alexis Breyer. We're the husband and wife law team. You can protect your rights by asking the right questions. When was the last time the leaders of the firm went to trial? And why does their fee go up if they have to file suit after an unfair offer?
That's right, Alexis. But we know those firms don't want you asking those questions, and they're not going to answer them. They're going to dance around it. Do your research after a serious injury. Call the husband and wife law team first.
Don't miss Arizona's largest reptile expo, the Phoenix Reptile Expo, happening Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. and Sunday, April 27th from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. at the Mesa Convention Center in downtown Mesa. Check out Arizona's largest selection of snakes, lizards, turtles, frogs, reptiles, and amphibians from around the world, all under one roof. Tickets for the event are $12 for adults, $5 for kids, and children 5 and under are free with a paid adult admission. Don't miss Phoenix Reptile Expo 2025 happening April 26th and 27th at the Mesa Convention Center located at 263 North Centennial Way in downtown Mesa. For more info, go to phxreptileexpo.com. That's phxreptileexpo.com. Sponsored by ZoomEd, Predators Reptile Center, Timberline, Triple L Reptile, Redline Shipping, and Arizona Exotic Animal Hospital.
Hi, I'm Kamiko, the founder of Miko's Hot Chicken. When we started our family restaurant, we were also raising a family. But let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Our Chase Inc. card was there to reward us on all of our business needs. Now we have a thriving location, and we're hungry for more.
With the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card, you can earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more with yours. Real business owners compensated for their participation. Cards issued by J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. Subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Hosier presents the Unreal Unearthed Tour 2025 live in Phoenix. Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, October 7th. With special guest, Amble. Get tickets now at livenation.com. The #1 album, Unreal Unearthed, is available everywhere. For more, visit hosier.com.
Today at Denny's, buy an original Grand Slam or an All-American Slam and get another for just $1. It's the biggest, yummiest deal in America. One slam for $1. Only at Denny's. Valid at participating locations for dine-in only. Limited time offer.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
12 o'clock hour of the lunch break. Chris Schubert here with you on KDUS AM 1060, KDUS AM 1060 app, and KDUS AM 1060 YouTube channel where you can watch the program. The Kevin Durant situation is one that I expect to linger for a while. We are just at chapter 1, maybe chapter 2 of this story. Although, did you see who lost yesterday? Were you watching the NBA playoffs, everybody? Did you see who took an L yesterday? Did you see?
Those pesky Houston Rockets.
So not so easy to say you don't want Kevin Durant after you go down 1-0 to the 7-seeded Golden State Warriors there. Is it now, Houston? Houston, you may have a problem. Just keeping an eye on it, okay? We talked about that on Friday. We're just keeping an eye on it. But Kevin Durant and his future, storyline number one, I think, this offseason for the Phoenix Suns. And we talked a little bit in hour number one about Chris Haynes' reporting on what the Phoenix Suns are looking to do this offseason with their identity. I want to play some more of these cuts because the coaching search, I think, is going to play a large part in how this identity gets implemented. And perhaps the door is being left open for Kevin Durant to be on this team next season. So I want to start with this. This, Chris Haynes reporting what the typical coaching process looks like.
Typically, a coaching candidate comes into the interviews with the team, and they're trying to sell the team. They're trying to sell the organization on their philosophy, on the way that they do things, on how they've been successful, on what has worked for the players that they've coached years prior, and how this philosophy can work with the players you have on your roster.
Okay, so what's the Suns process going to look like?
Now you have an organization telling you what they want, telling you what they're looking for. So it's going to be up to the coaches to possibly kind of alter their approach and how they're going into this interview. And for coaches who are already viewed or deemed as defensive-minded coach, you're probably going to have a leg up because now you can talk about how do we implement that. You can talk about how something like that is executed. You can talk about what players you need to try to bring that scheme to life or best utilize that scheme.
So normally, and this makes sense, you have an organization that is interviewing a bunch of coaches, and the coaches sell the organization on a vision. This is how I'm going to coach. This is what I look for in a player. This is what I demand of my team. This is my offensive identity. This is my defensive identity. This is what I think this team missed last season, right? We talked about interviewing everybody under the sun, including maybe people that you weren't necessarily considering for the job, because you can learn a lot about what they think is wrong with your basketball team, because they'll tell you, yeah, I think, not going to throw Coach Bud under the bus, but you'll say, yeah, I think you utilize this player incorrectly. I would maximize this player's minutes. This is the role that I would see for Ryan Dunn. This is the role that I would see for Devin Booker. This is the role that I would see for this guy, that guy. And you just go up and down the roster and you outline what you think you can do differently than the other coaches in regards to the roster. And then you say, hey, this is what I think the team needs. Team needs a point guard that does X, Y, and Z. We need a wing player that can help us defensively. We need more of a rim protecting presence down low. And a coach offers up that vision, and two coaches may see it differently. And then the organization makes a determination on what vision they want to follow. The Suns are doing things a little bit differently. They are changing the vision on their own, and they are going to try to find a coach that matches that vision. It doesn't mean that the coach needs to be a one-to-one. It doesn't mean that the Suns are doing this incorrectly. The Suns are just going into this saying, these are the things we want to hear from the coach that we're bringing in, and any coach that says those things or has a background in doing those things is going to have a leg up. You heard Chris Haynes talk about it. If you're a defensive-minded head coach, you have a head start in this process because you are very much in line with what this team is trying to do. They want to become a defensive, gritty basketball team that is a tough out. Win, lose, draw, you earned it against the Phoenix Suns. And so defensive-minded coaches are going to have a little bit of an advantage. But Chris Haynes would not rule out an offensive-minded head coach being in the mix.
It's one thing if you're an offensive-minded coach, but even if you're an offensive-minded coach, you probably want to tell them, hey, you know what? But I got a defensive-minded guy who's one of the best in the industry who I can bring on as my lead assistant.
You're an NFL coach that is looking for a job. You're an offensive coordinator in that meeting with the GM, with the owner. You're being asked, hey, you're an offensive-minded guy. What are you doing defensively? And you go, hey, I'm bringing this guy as my defensive coordinator. I'm bringing this guy that has this experience, this resume. You're a defensive coordinator. Dude, this is an offensive league right now. What are you going to do to make sure this offense is above average? It is the talks of the NFL. Well, I worked with this guy at this city and this guy in that city, and these guys are on my short list to be my offensive coordinator. You have to go in with the resume. You have to go in with the references. You have to go in there and say, hey, listen, I know I'm maybe not exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody more on the defensive side of things, but here's why I'm a good fit. Because I'm going to bring you that offensive flavor, but I'm also going to bring you this really great defense of mine that's going to sit next to me. That's going to be the architect, the coordinator of this defense. We have said that the Suns need to cast the widest net possible. I'm talking to offensive-minded coaches. I'm talking to defensive-minded coaches, assistant coaches, ex-players, college coaches. You name it, I want them in the building because I want to get their opinion of the Phoenix Suns. I want to learn. This process is not just about finding a head coach. Matt Ishbia has talked about wanting to do things differently, learning from the mistakes, building a team that we can all be proud of. Do you know what helps that process? Learning. And the best way for Matt Ishbia and everybody around to learn in this process is during these coaching interviews to listen. Listen to what these coaches are saying about what went wrong. Listen to what these coaches are saying about what can be done to make it right. What can be done to turn this thing in the right direction. Use this as a learning opportunity. It is not just a job interview for you hiring a head coach. It is also a wealth of basketball knowledge that is going to walk into that building. Decades of NBA experience combined is going to be sitting across from you in all of these interviews. You would be foolish to not look at it as a learning opportunity to get better as an owner, to get better as a front office, and to improve your process. What does this all have to do with Kevin Durant? Well, who ends up being the head coach might have a say in whether or not Kevin Durant is still here.
Now, the coach will have some impact on what happens with Kevin Durant. And the reason why I say that is this. It is very likely that Kevin Durant will be moved this summer. That is likely. However, if the Suns can find a coach that they're looking for, the coach that fits their identity, a coach that's going to fit the culture that they're trying to build, right? A grinded out coach, hard-nosed, somebody who can communicate effectively to the players. If they can find that coach and find a coach that is largely respected by the players in the league, there can be a possibility in which Kevin Durant is still a member of the Suns going into the 25-26 season.
Excuse me? There's a what? There's a chance that Kevin Durant is still on the Phoenix Suns going into the 2025-26 season? You just told me earlier, Chris Haynes, that the entire identity of the Phoenix Suns is going to change. Matt Ishbia told us, we're changing the identity. We need to play better defense. And I am not trying to throw Kevin Durant under the bus. What happened last season is far from his fault. But nobody at this stage of his career is going to confuse Kevin Durant with a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Nobody is going to confuse him with Wemby. Nobody is going to confuse him with Draymond Green. Nobody is going to confuse him with insert whatever great defensive player that plays right now. Nobody is going to confuse Kevin Durant for that player. If you are going to change the grittiness, the toughness of this team, the defensive intensity of this team, I'm sorry. That includes Kevin Durant no longer being on this basketball team. So if there's going to be a coach that wants to keep Kevin Durant, I'm not sure if that aligns with the same identity that the Suns are trying to put together. I heard this clip that there was a chance that Kevin Durant could still be here. And I don't get it. Because that means all you're probably going to do is change the coach. You're still going to be a second apron team if you do this, because if you buy out Bradley Beal, that money still counts against the cap. So you're going to keep Kevin Durant. You're going to still have Devin Booker. You're going to have the money associated with Bradley Beal. How's your roster going to be different? Because this was a coaching problem last year. It was a roster problem. You had a roster of guys that couldn't play defense. You had a roster of guys that didn't have that grittiness, that toughness. You had a roster of guys that, because they didn't get involved in a scuffle, they got benched. Because one of the other things that Chris Haynes reported is that the reason why Bol got sent to the moon for the last 6 games of the season, is because in that Houston game where Steven Adams and Mason Plumlee got into it, Bol was shooting layups while that little scuffle was going on. And apparently that rubbed Bud the wrong way. So
You have a roster of players. Now, by the way, Bud, you take your young player aside who's 25 years old and you say, dude, come on. Got to be a better teammate than that. I'm not saying you get in there and you throw punches. You don't get in there and get a suspension, but you at least pretend. You at least are close. You don't bench the guy.
Or even if you want to make the point, isn't it a 1 game benching?
Yes.
Not a 7 game.
Yeah, you don't shut him down for the remainder of the season when, let's face it, he was one of the guys that was providing some energy. Again, not a complete player, a player that needs work, is raw, has some tools, but still was providing a level of energy that wasn't being matched anywhere else. But again, part of a team last year that didn't have a defensive intensity, that didn't have that energy, and Kevin Durant could still be on this team next season, and we're just going to run it back. Again, how is the roster any different? Those two things don't match to me. If I'm to believe what Matt Ishbia said, that the identity of this team is going to change, I'm sorry, it includes Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal no longer being on this basketball team. It just does. It is, Chris Haynes said, that they no longer want to be a team that just grabs a bunch of stars and tries to make it work. If you get a head coach and you try to still have Kevin Durant on this team, are you not just doing that same thing? Collecting stars and hoping that it works and just changing out a coach for the 3rd straight year? Those two things don't gel for me. Those two things don't go together this offseason.
They talk about this change of culture. How do you change culture with the same roster?
You can't. You can't do it. And so I don't care who the next head coach is. I don't care if the next head coach says, yeah, I can get along with Kevin Durant. Yeah, I'd love to have Kevin Durant on this team. Because I don't know if you're going to find a coach that's going to say, I don't want Kevin Durant. You as an organization have to make the right decision. And the right decision is we need to change our identity. And that means sending Kevin Durant out the door. It means waiving, buying out, whatever phrase we want to use, getting rid of Bradley Beal. So no, to me, there is no world where Kevin Durant stays with the Phoenix Suns. I'm sorry. It doesn't match with what you told us in the press conference you want to do in terms of an identity. It does not gel with that goal. It would just be a half-baked measure. It would be a cosmetic change to this roster, and it would make me question how genuine you were being at that press conference, and it would make me wonder whether or not you get it in general. A lot of interesting stuff there from Chris Haynes about the Suns and what their future might look like. He had that bowl piece of information in there as well that I thought was interesting, so I wanted to pass that along. 480-864-1060 is the phone number for you to join the conversation. We've also got you over on the KDUS AM 1060 YouTube live stream. And Michael says, KD has to go, otherwise you will get nobody and be above the second apron. Exactly. You can't do any of the things you want to do. If you keep Kevin Durant, you still have Bradley Beal's salary on the books no matter what you do. You're over the second apron. How do you change the roster? How is this roster any different? How does this roster have the defense, have the toughness, have the grittiness that you're trying to give it if you can't make a whole lot of changes to the roster? I might need somebody a lot smarter than me to explain how those two things go together. When we come back, he is swinging a hot bat in the minor leagues. Is it time to have the Jordan Lawler conversation? It's next, the lunch break, KDUS, AM 1060.
The Varsity Sports Show live with Vince D'Alessio every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Features all the local youth, high school, college sports, and more, both around the Valley and beyond. Enjoy go-to segments with coaches and players from around the Valley. Tune in to the Varsity Sports Show with Vince and guests, Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. right here on KDUS AM 1060. Online at KDUS1060.com and the KDUS 1060 app.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5, win or lose. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And see why? It's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. T&Cs apply.
At Nationwide Vision, we know that every precious moment in life becomes brighter when your vision is in focus, which is why we combine expert care with the latest technology to bring those details into view with treatment that puts you first and eyewear that gives you the confidence to look and feel your best. We help you see the little things clearly and live them fully. Schedule your appointment today and find your focus at Nationwide Vision.
Picture this. A family trusts a lawyer after their father has been seriously injured. And then they're told there's no way to win his case and they'll have to take care of him with no support.
And that would have been the end of the story because they hired the wrong lawyer. Fortunately, they called us to the husband-wife law team. We were able to use our years of expertise to uncover evidence previously missed and guarantee they could change their father's life forever.
Do your research after a serious injury. Call the husband and wife law team first.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. At first glance, these Oklahoma City Thunder feel familiar. Young, electric, a young star at the helm, a city rallying behind a team ahead of schedule. Brings to mind the early 2010 squad that featured Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. 3 future MVPs who never quite finished the job. But this OKC group, they're writing a different script, led by 26-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the most likely MVP. And the Thunder, not just young and exciting, they're dominant. They went 68-14 in the regular season. And last night dropped the hammer on a 48-win Grizzly team, winning by more than 50. It's not just a team getting by on raw energy. It's a roster that is loaded. Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and they got a smart, unselfish bench as well. The Thunder no longer a cute story. Their problem, and maybe, just maybe, a blueprint done right the second time around. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. We're here in Green Bay talking football, but let me shift gears for a second. If you're playing pickleball in your running shoes, we need to talk. Tyrol pickleball shoes make the only shoe that's truly built for the sport. It's spelled Tyrol. They're not tennis shoes rebranded or cross trainers pretending they can handle the court. Tyrol pickleball shoes are the best. Lateral movement, quick stops, long rallies. You get something special. It's a Vibram outsole that grips hard, a wide toe box for comfort, airflow that keeps your feet cool even when the match heats up. They're tough, they're lightweight, they're so solid on your feet. Every detail is built to help you play better and not just look good doing it. So if you're serious about the game, do yourself a favor. Go to TyrolPickleball.com. Look like a pro, play like a pro with Tyrol pickleball shoes. Draft a pair of them for yourself. You don't need to wait for the commissioner to call your name. Tyrol pickleball shoes. Purpose built for pickleball.
Ready to tackle each morning with the best sports information coming at you?
I'm going to take a logical approach.
Get that weekday mornings on KTUS AM 1060 from 6 to 9 a.m. with the Dan Patrick Show. Dan Patrick, the Danettes, sports icons, sports legends, celebrities, poll questions. The Dan Patrick Show has it all.
It's a crapshoot.
Be sure to lock your dials to AM 1060 or 100.7 HD2 from 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings just got better.
This story is about us.
I've got some major breaking news, producer Evan. Major breaking news here on the program. Major. Paul has responded. My ongoing feud with Paul, lovely regular listener to the program, who he gets in contact with the show in one of the ways I don't promote very regularly. I obviously talk about the phone number. You can always call in at 480-864-1060. We joke that maybe you can't call because you're listening to the show at work. So you can always, if you're listening to the show, use the YouTube chat. But we also have an email feature. If you go onto the app, if you're listening on the app, there's a quick message button, and you can send us a message, and it sends to my email. And so that's where my feud, if we want to call it that, with Paul has played out over the last couple of days, because Paul jumped me for heaping too much praise on the Diamondbacks on the day they won their 5th straight game and won 7 of 8. And he went after me. And so it's all playful fun. I appreciate Paul listening. He's a regular listener of the program. He's given the show some very nice praise in the past. And so I love bantering with the audience. I love having fun. It's what we're supposed to do here. So Paul has responded. He has retorted. Okay. And I learned something about Paul Hill here today. And you know what? It makes me question where this feud's going to go from here. So this is what Paul says, quote, "Hey, Chris, just remember that it's a long season and the majority of teams get hot and cold. You know this. Teams can lose 10 games in a month and they'll still win 100. Try playing Beat the Streak on the MLB app if you want to feel frustrated. No player, quote, has it every day. Yeah, I'm a Dodgers fan, but still follow the Diamondbacks. Keep up the good work." First of all, Paul, thank you for the keep up the good work. You're a Dodgers fan? You're trolling me? You are jumping into the emails of this program to troll me, and you are a Dodgers fan? This feud, we're up to another level. This is John Cena, Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania yesterday, you and I, Paul. Let's go. We're throwing down. You're a Dodgers fan? You're coming at me here on a Tuesday, Monday? You're jumping me last week talking about a team winning 5 in a row? This feud, whole new level today.
I really understand Paul's last week comments.
It makes sense now.
Given that he's a Dodgers fan.
It makes sense. Now that we know he's a Dodgers fan and he's just trolling, it makes so much more sense. So, all right, Paul, now I see you put your cards on the table. I see where you're at. Didn't know that you were a Dodgers fan. Now that I know that you're a Dodgers fan, now that I know that that's the bias that you come into this with, it changes everything. It changes everything about our relationship now, you and I. So, by the way, if you want to get involved with the program, that's another way that you can do it. Just use the quick message feature on the KDUS AM 1060 app. And as long as you're not a Dodgers fan, I don't think we're going to be feuding the way that Paul and I are feuding. Shout out to you, Paul. Appreciate you listening. Speaking of the Diamondbacks, there is somebody who is making it a tough conversation. Oh, I think I have a drop for this. I have a drop for this. We have drops for moments like these. We are going to have some of those tough conversations. Today, we have to have one of those conversations. Today. Because down in Reno, Jordan Lawler is hitting .325 with a .423 on base percentage, a 1.049 OPS, and 5 home runs in 21 games. He hit one yesterday.
Bang.
He hit one yesterday that, you know what?
Bang.
It cleared everything down there in Reno. And so that leads us to a question of, do we need to have the Jordan Lawler? We are going to have some of those tough conversations. Do we start that today? I don't know if we should. It feels too quick. I have said all along, all winter long, Jordan Lawler is a second half conversation. It is, does this team need a spark? Is somebody in the first half not performing well and they need something offensively? They'll go to Jordan Lawler. Again, remember, didn't play a whole lot last year. Missed. Producer Evan can check me. I don't know how many games he played last year, if any, with all of the injuries that he had in 2024. So he needs just reps. He needs at-bats. And so Reno always felt like the best place for him. But when a guy is hitting this well in the minor leagues and you have an offense that's down their second baseman right now in Ketel Marte, and we think we're kind of in the window when Ketel Marte could return here in the next week or two, you have your third baseman, where Jordan Lawler probably is going to play moving forward, is struggling. Eugenio Suarez had a couple hits over the weekend, hit a home run in the first game of this series, but overall, still hitting below 200 for the season. He's struggling. And yet you have a 22-year-old minor league prospect that is sitting there. He's the top prospect in your system. Everybody is waiting for the moment that Jordan Lawler can arrive and contribute to this team. And the guy's hitting .325, has hit 5 home runs in 21 games, and is absolutely crushing the ball. And he's almost forcing us to have the conversation. He's almost forcing us to once again do what we did last year and talk about the slow start that Eugenio Suarez is off to and wondering if there's a change that needs to be made there. It is we are going to have some of those tough conversations. I mean, this is a tough thing to talk about today because do you want to know the answer to this? At least where I stand, you can't call him up. Where's he going to play? Ketel Marte is going to be back at some point. There's your starting second baseman. Are you really going to bench Eugenio Suarez? Because you are only going to call up Jordan Lawler. At least this is me if I'm in charge. I am only calling up Jordan Lawler if he is going to be playing almost every single day, if not every single day. If I'm calling him up, I'm promoting him to the big league club. He's my everyday third baseman. He's my everyday second baseman. He is playing every single day. This isn't a guy that I'm calling up, and please, these two guys don't take offense. I'm not calling him up and having him be Tim Tawa. I'm not calling him up and having him be Garrett Hampson. Those are utility infielders that are being used in a pinch. Remember when Ketel Marte got hurt? We told everybody, this is not the Jordan Lawler spot. This is only a series of weeks. You go with your depth. You go with Hampson. You call up Tim Tawa. You try to piece it together for a couple of weeks until Ketel Marte is back. You don't call up Jordan Lawler to just send him back down. You call him up. You are basically calling him up for good. And so despite the fact that he's hitting 325 in Reno, the fact that he has a 1.049 OPS in 21 games, the fact that he's crushed 5 home runs, I don't have a spot for him right now. Where's he playing? When somebody can answer that question for me, then we can have a conversation about promoting Jordan Lawler. If Ketel Marte was going to miss the remainder of the season, Jordan Lawler, call him up today. He's playing well through the first 21 games. Boom, let's go. Ketel Marte is going to be back in 2 weeks.
We've talked about it. The reason he's in AAA is to get consistent at bats. We don't think he's not ready. We think he needs to play every day. That's part of the growing process in baseball. Last year, you asked the question, he only played 23 games across 3 leagues, AA, AAA, and the Arizona Complex League. That's it. And so this year, he's already at 21 games. He's almost matched what he did last year. He needs to see at-bats. If you were going to call him up in Ketel Marte's absence, you were going to do it right away.
But again, you won't do that. You won't do that to a young player, because then you run into this weird problem. What if he comes up and he puts up those type of numbers that he's putting up in Reno while filling in for Ketel Marte? You're going to send that kid down? You're going to take that kid out of the lineup when Ketel Marte comes back? That's why, with Ketel Marte being shelved for just a little bit of time, you were never going to call up Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler comes up to this team. This is the reality, everybody. Jordan Lawler comes up to this team in one of two scenarios. There is a major season-ending injury at either second, short, or third, or we're ready to be done with Eugenio Suarez. That's it. Those are the two pathways for Jordan Lawler to be up here on this team. We are ready to talk about moving on from Eugenio Suarez, or moving him into a bench role, or moving him into a DH, doesn't play all the time, defensive replacement role, or somebody gets seriously hurt, and now I have to fill the entire second half of the season, and that's where Jordan Lawler can get run. I am not calling him up to be a utility infielder. I'm not calling him up to play every 3 or 4 days and to be a pinch hitter off the bench. I'm not doing that with a 22-year-old kid. He gets more out of being in Reno and playing and hitting and putting up these numbers. And so I can't find the pathway. I can't find our way there right now because it's April 21st. I don't think we're ready to have the Eugenio Suarez conversation, are we?
No. You got to get this thing at least to June before you start having that conversation. But that is a good question. When does that conversation start? When do those struggles really become a concern?
And they will continue to get louder the longer that Jordan Lawler continues to put up these types of numbers in Reno. If Lawler continues to produce down in AAA and Suarez continues to struggle, we're not getting to June.
No.
We might get to the middle of May and people are going to want to sound the alarm. There are people that want to sound the alarm right now about Eugenio Suarez with what Jordan Lawler is doing in the minor leagues. So we get to the middle of May and things don't turn around. And again, Suarez had a couple of hits over the weekend, hit a home run in that first game against the Cubs. So perhaps he starts to turn it around and this conversation becomes a moot point and we can just go back to our original philosophy of, yeah, Lawler might come up in the second half. But if he continues to struggle, if those struggles don't turn around and Lawler continues to produce and swing a hot bat, you're going to force the issue. You're going to, if it continues to be
bang, bang, bang
for Jordan Lawler down in Reno, then he's going to be up here. If we keep asking Eugenio Suarez, you got to do something. If those are the two conversations that we're having through the next 4 weeks, if it is May 21st and everything remains the same, we are going to have some of those tough conversations. Lawler's hitting really well. Suarez is struggling. Yeah, we're going to have those tough conversations. If you're listening on the KDUS AM 1060 app, you can listen for your chance to win 4 tickets when the Diamondbacks take on the Braves on Saturday, April 26th at Chase Field. And you're going to want to get to the game early to get a Diamondbacks replica jersey, courtesy of Casino Arizona and Talking Stick Resort. The first 25,000 fans at the game will get one. You can get your tickets at dbacks.com/SGT. Coming up on the other side of the break, are the Suns going to swing the pendulum too far back in the other direction? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Hey listeners, Vince DeLisio here. This week is JUCO Sports Week. Saturday morning we are live from Phoenix College's Hoy Stadium where the Hohokam Junior College Athletic Conference is hosting fall tryouts. We kick off our broadcast at 8 a.m. on Live 365, then move to AM 1060 at 9. You'll hear from football coaches from the Mustangs, Scorpions, Sidewinders, Pumas, and Hawks. It's the Varsity Sports Show, Saturday morning at 8 on Live 365, then from 9 to 11 a.m. on AM 1060, KDUS, Arizona.
Phoenix, it's time for Saturday night soccer and dollar beer night. Phoenix Rising takes on San Antonio under the lights Saturday, April 26th at 7 p.m. And you know what that means. Dollar beer night is back. Enjoy 16-ounce Modelo for just $1 as Rising battles a Western Conference rival. Tickets start at just $15. Get yours now at phxrisingfc.com. Cold beer, fierce rivalry. Don't miss it.
The legacy continues. Pantera. The heaviest tour of the summer. Tearing up Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, August 26th. With Amon Amarth. On sale now at LiveNation.com. Part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
At Shane Company, we love a spring engagement. But you might be wondering, how do I find the perfect engagement ring? As a trusted family jeweler since 1929, we get asked this a lot. We have a wide selection of ring settings, like vintage designs with romantic details, floral settings inspired by nature, and classic styles with clean lines and sleek metals. Dreaming of the most beautiful diamond you've ever seen? At Shane Company, we handpick only the sparkliest center stones in all shapes and sizes, from oval to round to marquise and more. We have gorgeous natural and lab-grown diamonds at competitive prices, in-store, ready to compare side by side. Drawn to certain colors? We're known for our rainbow of vivid natural sapphires, including shades of blue, straight out of a fairy tale, handpicked by our owner, Tom Shane. At Shane Company, we have the best free lifetime warranty that includes the center stone, plus resizing, repairs, and cleanings for life. Visit us at shaneco.com or in store. No appointment necessary. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Right now at Mark Mazda in Scottsdale, you can lease a brand new 2025 Mazda CX-30 for just $249 a month, plus tax for 36 months, with just $29.99 down.
The name to remember? Mark Mazda. Mark Mazda. On approved credit plus $998.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
As a business owner, you wear a lot of hats. One minute you're ordering today's inventory, and the next you're planning tomorrow's expansion. It's complicated, but your business credit card should be simple. With the Signify Business Cash Card by Wells Fargo, you earn unlimited 2% cash rewards on purchases for your business with no caps or categories to track. Signify Business Cash, the deliberately simple business credit card. Learn more at wellsfargo.com/signify. Terms apply.
The Varsity Sports Show live with Vince DiAlicio every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Features all the local youth, high school, college sports, and more, both around the Valley and beyond. Enjoy go-to segments with coaches and players from around the Valley. Tune in to the Varsity Sports Show with Vince and guests Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. right here on KTUS AM 1060. Online at KTUS1060.com and the KTUS 1060 app.
Phoenix Suns are in for a very large offseason. An offseason that will see them make a lot of changes, that will see a new identity be brought to the table. What will that new identity look like?
They're trying to, and they're going to assemble a team. They're going to try to bring in guys who are defensive minded, are tough, and it's going to be a team that win, lose, or draw, that you're going to be proud to say that you watched that game, and you're going to leave that game believing that those players gave their all. And that's something you couldn't say for this previous team.
That's Chris Haynes on his Haynes Brief YouTube channel talking about the Phoenix Suns
believe this was last Friday or Saturday that I saw this video floating around on social media. And I think everything in that clip I would agree with. Need to be better defensively, need to be a team that at the end of the game, we all can say, all right, we know that they didn't win. We know that things didn't work out for them in the fourth quarter or whatever the case may be, but we could always say they tried. We can say they worked their butts off. They worked their tails off to try to win that game. They gave 110% to try and win this game. I don't think we can say that about what we saw last year. Plenty of times you watched a team just kind of give it away in the fourth quarter and didn't seem like it mattered to them that they had given it away in the fourth quarter. And so they are going to focus on that defensive side. They are going to focus on the grit, the toughness, the attitude, the effort level, giving it all for all four quarters. And on the surface, all of that seems great. I wouldn't disagree with anything that Chris Haynes just said there of what I want this team to look like. We outlined last week what we thought the identity of this team should look like. We've identified players. I've said Dante DiVincenzo is a player. If Kevin Durant gets traded to Minnesota, I would make it a prerequisite that Dante DiVincenzo is in any deal for Kevin Durant with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Marcus Smart was a name that producer Evan invoked. I think Drew Holiday was a name that came up, right? We've talked about these players. Dylan Brooks is somebody I threw out there of players that we think fit this identity. And all those players would play a really nice role for this team. I have a fear, however. This team is going to turn away from acquiring the star power and going all in on stars and superstars and hoping that those superstars gel and making big splashes for Kevin Durant and making big splashes for Bradley Beal and putting together a big three and getting those superstars. And now they're going to go back towards toughness, grittiness, defensive intensity. And I do have one small fear. Could they go too far in that direction? Could they go too far in that direction and want to show how smart they are to everybody? Watch this. We're going to get names and guys you've never even heard of. Guys that you don't think deserve a full opportunity to be members of a basketball organization, members of a strong rotation. But we're going to give these guys a chance. We're going to get these under-the-radar signings. Is there a worry that they might go too far in that direction and ignore that you still need star power? Producer Evan, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I am. When I say defensive intensity, when I say toughness, when I say grit, determination, effort level, when I say those words, what NBA team comes to mind for you?
The Miami Heat.
Is there another team that comes to mind for you?
The Celtics, maybe?
Okay, so we're going Boston, we go Miami. I just wanted to see if there were a couple of examples. But Miami's a fine example because Miami has all those things that you mentioned, and they're a great team to invoke. But you know what they also have? They have star power. They have Tyler Hero. They have Bam Adebayo. Star power. They have guys that fit that identity, the identity that the Suns are trying to acquire, but they also have star power. Boston, a name that you invoked. You want to talk about somebody who is the ultimate embodiment of this identity? Peyton Pritchard is the ultimate embodiment of what the Suns are looking to do. They still have Tatum and Brown. They still have superstardom. So I get that you want to swing the pendulum back. Offensive coach, we're going to the defensive side. We had zero defensive intensity. We're going to lean heavily towards that this go around. But you can't forget the fact that stars win in the NBA. You need star power. You've got one guy. You've got Devin Booker. I expect Kevin Durant to get traded. My fingers are crossed that Bradley Beal is on the way out, that Bradley Beal is not on this team. So you have one star. You don't need to do it this offseason. You may not even need to do it next offseason. But at some point, you are going to have to add another superstar. You need a dynamic duo. You don't need a big three. You don't need to make that mistake again. But you need a running mate for Devin Booker. I don't want that to be forgotten in this process. I don't want there to be an over-reliance on defense and effort level and intensity, and we're going to go for scrappy guys. And so that means we're not going to take blue blood college programs in the draft. We're going to go for guys from mid-majors, guys who had to scratch and claw. There's value in that, sure. But don't ignore somebody from a blue blood, a blue chip college that could be a superstar. Don't shy away from a potential trade this offseason, maybe somebody you get back in the Kevin Durant deal, or a deal that you can make next trade deadline or next summer that brings that star power in. You just need to be selective in the stars you bring in. You brought in Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal. That was a mistake. You brought in Kevin Durant, who was older. You brought in Kevin Durant, who isn't known for being a great defensive player, not at this age. Somebody who has been known for going through coaches and having issues with coaches. And then you brought in Bradley Beal, who had been on a team that didn't have to have a super high effort level because they were the Washington Wizards and they weren't expected to go anywhere, and was injured all the time and had the no trade clause and had the huge salary and just didn't have that effort level. Wasn't available and didn't fit what this new vision is going to look like or what it is supposed to look like. So when you get that next star, you have to pick the right star. I don't want you to swing too far in the other direction and try to do something that is counter to what everybody in the NBA is doing to try to win in a totally different way. You tried that already. Going with 3 stars was trying to do it differently. It didn't work. Lean into the defense, lean into the effort level, lean into the scrappiness, but also understand that you need stars. You need raw talent. You need guys that have high basketball IQs. You need guys that have talent level. You need guys that can play on both ends of the floor. You can't just have defensive players. You have to have guys that can be two-way players for you. Be good on the offensive end and provide that defensive intensity for 48 minutes on that end of the floor as well. We're in the early stages of this. We're going to see it play out, but just a warning. I've given a couple of warnings out today. Work in silence. Let all the moves you make be your proof of success. Let the product next season be the proof of whether or not the work paid off. And don't swing the pendulum too far back in the other direction. Find the right balance. You did it with the coaches. Frank Vogel, defensive coach, we're swinging all the way in the other direction with an offensive coach. Now our defense suffered. Find the middle ground with your coach. Find the middle ground with your roster. Find the right blend. That's hard to do. That's not an easy task. But if the Suns want to find this identity, they need to find the middle ground. One more for us here on the lunch break. It is the leftovers, all the stories that we didn't get to. I am for certain we're getting an NFL draft story here today on the program, so we've got that and whatever else producer Evan has up his sleeve. We'll do it next here, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Ready to tackle each morning with the best sports information coming at you?
I'm going to take a logical approach.
Get that weekday mornings on KTUS AM 1060 from 6 to 9 a.m. with the Dan Patrick Show. Dan Patrick, the Danettes, sports icons, sports legends, celebrities, poll questions. The Dan Patrick Show has it all.
It's a crapshoot.
Be sure to lock your dials to AM 1060 or 100.7 HD2 from 6 to 9 a.m. Mornings just got better.
This story is about us.
Pima JTED doesn't just work for students, it works for all of Arizona. Hands-on training, real-world skills, high school students become job-ready, and Arizona businesses get the talent they need to thrive. Without a skilled workforce, Arizona can't grow. But with Pima JTED graduates, our entire economy prospers. Join the businesses already investing in Arizona's future. Learn more at PimaJTED.org. That's PimaJTED.org. This message is sponsored by Potoff Private Philanthropy.
You wanted to see me, Ron?
Yeah. See that woman sitting there? When did we hire her?
Oh, we didn't hire her. It's Take Your Mom to Work Day.
I've never heard of that.
Saw it on the internet.
Oh, boy.
Hey, guys. It's neat that Gary has a mom and all, but shouldn't we be talking about Alaska vacations?
That's why I brought Mom in.
I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but she can't promise a 1-year no-breakdown guarantee the way Alaskan AC does.
Nope.
And she doesn't promise lower energy bills the way Alaskan AC does.
Nope.
And she doesn't make sure people's air conditioner lasts longer than average, the way Alaskan AC does.
Nope. But she sings.
If you want your AC to last all summer long, with an Alaska vacation, it will always blow strong.
Wow.
Double wow.
Thanks, Mom.
Anything for the president of the company. How long have you two boys worked for Gary?
Gary!
Hey, gotta go. Promise to take Mom to lunch. Bye.
If you want your AC to last all summer long, with an Alaska vacation, it will always blow strong.
Schedule now at AlaskanAC.com.
Rock legend Billy Idol. Live in Phoenix. Billy Idol. It's a nice day to tour again. with very special guest Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Live at Talking Stick Resort Amphitheater, April 30th. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Part of the America First Credit Union Concert Series.
Join ASU baseball for an in-state matchup here on KDUS AM 1060. This Tuesday, join the Sun Devils as they get ready to square off against Grand Canyon University. As the season continues, Coach Lee Bloomquist knows his team has what it takes to bring home more wins. Tim Healy will have the call live. It's ASU versus the Lopes of GCU this Tuesday evening. Pregame at 6:45 p.m. and first pitch at 7 right here on KDUS AM 1060 and online at KDUS1060.com/Sun Devils.
Well, my work on the program is done today. The last segment we handed off to producer Evans, the leftovers, all the stories that we didn't get to throughout the course of the show. And he just shares them, and I give my reaction to them. So I'm done. I put together the show. We put together the show in the morning meeting. But, I do a lot of the talking here for the hour and 45 minutes. The last 15, I'm just a passenger now. So please, producer Evan, it's all yours, buddy.
Okay, we'll start in the NBA playoffs. Yesterday, the Thunder beat the Grizzlies by 51, 131-80, which is now the biggest margin of victory in any game won in NBA history.
We wanted the Suns to get the 8 seed. Why? So that they could get embarrassed by the Thunder like that? Because if that's what it looked like for Memphis, what would it have looked like for the Phoenix Suns? Yeah, that is tough. That is a tough look yesterday. The record, I think, is 58 points. And they were flirting with it, but just a complete no-show. Then afterwards, I think it was John Morant was asked about, playing that poorly. And he said something along the lines of, we won't play that poorly again this series. And in the back of my mind, I was like, oh boy, there's a 60-point blowout incoming after you said that. But yeah, no, the Thunder are good.
The Thunder are really good. And this goes back to our point a couple weeks ago. Too many teams make the NBA playoffs. And even at 8, you have more than 50% of the league making the playoffs.
Okay, so
and that's still too many.
But hold on. Let's be fair. If we went back to the original format, Golden State would have been the 7. They would have played the Rockets. Memphis would have been the 8. They would have played Oklahoma City. So we got the teams that would have gotten in. So at least on the West,
it would have been chalk.
It would have been chalk. In the East, I forget who played who yesterday. I know the Heat got in. The Heat were the 8 seed. They're fine. And Orlando's the 7. So it worked out. The 7 and 8 seeds in both the East and the West, they got the 7 and the 8 seed. So play-in tournament, great. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. We got a play-in tournament. We get more games. The teams that were in the 7 and the 8 spots in both conferences stayed in the 7 and 8 spots, and we got the matchups we would have gotten anyway.
The round 1 of the NBA playoffs is pretty predictable.
Well,
always.
Hold on.
You
now.
never get a crazy.
Well,
There's a couple times.
Hold on now, because so far we have Golden State, a 7 seed, up 1-0 on the Rockets.
I would have told you that Golden State's going to win that series.
They stole one on the road, and the Timberwolves stole one on the road from the Lakers. So we've at least got a couple of upsets brewing.
That's true.
Chalk everywhere else, though.
Crazy story moving on to baseball. The Atlanta Braves with an interesting weekend. So I don't know if you saw this. Jared Kelenic.
This is the Ronald Acuna Jr. tweet. Yep, I thought we would get to this.
Was thrown out at second base.
Yep.
After not hustling because he thought he hit a home run.
Yep.
Anyway, he was not taken out of the game, not benched the next day.
Yep.
And manager Brian Snitker defended him.
Yep.
And then Ronald Acuna took to Twitter and said, quote, "If it were me, they would have taken me out."
So what happens when you have an 8-13 team and people are ready to jump on you, right? I mean, if they were 15-7 like the Mets, if they were 14-8 like the Giants, 13-9 like the Diamondbacks, this is still a story. But I wonder if it gets lost. Team that's in last place in the NL East when they should be nowhere near last place in the NL East, with a player in Ronald Acuna Jr. who is coming back from an injury and is now fighting with his manager somewhat publicly. Twitter's public, right? I mean, we would call that publicly.
Very publicly, yeah.
It wasn't like he said it to him face-to-face in the dugout, but this is as public as you can basically get. It's not a good look for a team that's 8-13. So, yeah, everybody was kind of like, and now, did you see, I don't know if you saw this. Did you see what the Mets did about this?
No.
So, Ronald's younger brother, Luis Angel Acuna, plays for the New York Mets. He's their second baseman.
And up on their big screen yesterday, when they showed the statistics and they show what a guy has done in the game, they usually have a little blurb. Well, and the blurb for Luis Angel Acuna was, hasn't tweeted today. So the Mets social media team got in on the fun yesterday by saying that this Acuna brother did not tweet today. It was the other Acuna brother who tweeted. But yeah, when you are a team that is 8-13 and people are questioning, you just got Spencer Strider back, but it was a very bad start for them. People are kind of ready to pile on. And so when you have a negative story in a season that's already negative, now they just swept the Twins in the last series. So they're starting to turn it around a little bit. These stories get magnified a little bit. But yeah, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for Snitker because I think Acuna's right. Acuna would have gotten benched in that spot. And Jared Kelenich's not like he's hitting the cover off the ball. You got to make an example of a player who doesn't run out something like that. Like, dude, what are you doing? And at least, even if you don't bench him, could I get the public show on television that you're talking to him that I can look at for you to say, no, should I have? Yeah, you should have. You're the manager of the team. And the guy didn't run out a ball that he thought was what are we doing here?
And with them being in last place, this felt like the prime opportunity to make your point.
Exactly.
And I just can't believe they didn't. And this same thing happened with Acuna in 2019.
Yep.
And they benched him.
Yep. Again.
And so this is also not the first time they've had problems with Acuna and Snitker. They told him he couldn't wear certain cleats. He couldn't wear his eye black as the way he wanted to one time. This is not the first time that he has had problems in the locker room with the manager.
And the answer from Snitker was that he wasn't watching the play and that he only saw the video afterwards and then talked to him. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. You're the manager of the team. I'm sorry, you're the manager of the club. You've got to be more aware. Somebody has to pull you aside before you get in front of the press conference after the game and warn you that that's coming. You're in charge in there. You've got to do a better job.
Wasn't watching the play. He hit the ball off the wall and then was thrown out at second base. How much is there to watch?
When he hit the ball, did you look down at your book to try to plan out what you were doing with your bullpen? You were that disengaged with the game? What are we doing?
Yeah, that's even a worse look. I'm going to skip our last story and go right to the draft story. Okay, Adam Schefter is an ESPN article of everything he has heard about the draft and every storyline that he has.
We're doing every single one of them, really? Okay.
We are not.
Okay.
We're going to skip some of them.
Okay.
The first one's that the Braves aren't going to trade Cousins. The next one's everything he's heard on Sanders. We've talked enough about that.
And by Braves, you meant Falcons. You confused your Atlanta sports teams there because we were just talking about that.
And I meant Falcons. Okay. And then to continue on, the most interesting part of the article is where are the trades? This is a little blurb he has here. And what makes it interesting is this is the first time now that before the week of the draft that there has not been a first-round pick traded yet.
Well, and everybody has their pick this year.
Yes, that's the first time since 1967 that's happened.
So you have everybody that has their original pick. No previous trades coming home to roost, right? Like when the Panthers traded up for Bryce Young and they gave up 2 future first-round picks, right? Everybody has their pick this year, and we are 3 days away. Nobody's made a trade for the first-round pick. Wild.
And so it gets even more interesting in that Tennessee was unwilling to move from 1. Both Cleveland tried to jump into the first pick, and so did the New York Giants to take Ward. They were not interested.
They're taking Cam Ward. That's why they said, no, thank you. We're going to just take the best quarterback in the class.
And then lastly is that teams are unwilling to move as of now. Apparently, Denver has been the only team actively looking to trade up per Adam Schefter's report.
What do I always say? It takes 2 to tango. You can want to trade down for all 10 minutes that you're on the clock on Thursday. If you don't have a dance partner, if there is not a team that wants to move up, then nobody's going to want to move up. Now, I don't think this is forecasting much. If a player starts to fall, if Shador starts to fall, if Campbell starts to fall, if Genty starts to fall, I think you will then start to see teams work the phones. But the fact that nobody wants to move up right now, that tells me teams don't feel like there's a ton of first-round caliber talent, and they don't know if it's worth moving up to go get those guys right now until they see more of the board settle. That's what it tells me. That there are teams that go, you know what? No, I'm going to get a totally fine player at 19, at 24, at 25. I'm not giving up additional draft capital to move up for a player that I may like, but I don't love. And I'm also going to have to give up more draft picks in order to get that guy. No, thank you.
We've talked about how deep this class is, and it just feels like nobody's willing to move up for a player they love, when I think this year's all about acquiring picks. And the more times you select, the better your chances are, especially this year. He also continues on the article, a lot of different little blurbs here. But then the next one is who could be drafted higher than most people think.
Okay.
So he has a couple players here listed. He starts with Missouri offensive tackle Armand Membu, who now looks to be a top 10 lock.
Yeah, he's going to the Jets at 7, I think.
And he has the Raiders at 6.
If they don't take Genty, it would make sense. Yeah, if they don't take Genty, a trench player makes a lot of sense for what they're trying to do.
Next, he has a pair of Texas players in Kelvin Banks Jr. and cornerback Jahdae Barron.
Two really good players for Texas to keep an eye on. And I see the last name that he has here is linebacker from UCLA, Carson Schlesinger. So some names to just keep an eye on. We've got you covered here. Don't worry. We got more draft talk coming tomorrow and the day after that. And then Thursday, we've got you covered. But that's going to do it for us here on the lunch break. Jim Rome's coming up next. Producer Evan, thank you for all that you do. Everybody, have a great rest of your Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya!
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLI